Hello guys, this is the Gaming Weasel back again with another video. In today's video I'm going to be covering my top 5 Warframes for Warframe in 2021, and this is going to be my beginner list. Now, if you're a beginner starting off and watching this video, I'm not saying the 5th Warframe is worse than the first one. They're all very, very good Warframes. The thing is, they're all specified for different things that you will need in the game, and that your squad mates, once you start looking for squad mates, or if you already started, will require or need from you to actually use and play. Now, our first Warframe is gonna be sort of like the, for me at least, 80% of missions Warframe. It's going to be Wukong or Wukong Prime, depending on which one you want to get. Wukong is obtained by going into your Tenno lab in your dojo if you have a clan. If you don't, try to find one, it's pretty easy. And his parts are not that expensive, not that hard to craft. Once you craft him, he has a passive which allows you to evade a death 3 times, so you will not die. You will respawn with 50% health, and you also have a chance, or not a chance, but it will provide a unique buff. So it's 100% of the time. It just depends on which buff you get, and the buffs go as Primal Forces, which is his first buff that you can get, which gives you 300% elemental damage for 60 seconds, Heavenly Cloak, Invisibility for 30 seconds, Cosmic Armor, Invulnerable for 30 seconds, and Monkey Luck. Enemies that are killed yield extra loot drops for 60 seconds. And his abilities go as such. His first ability is Celestial Twin, which creates a second twin of Wukong, which has double the max double health that you have depending on your power strength, and his damage is increased double as well. Now, he uses the weapon that is sort of like the opposite of the one that you're using. So if you're using a primary, he's going to use a melee. Sometimes when you use a secondary, he uses a melee as well, and if you use a melee, he's going to use your primary. I personally run him just by me using the primary and him going melee all over the place. Cloudwalker is a very great ability, and it is an awesome ability for capture missions. It's an awesome for spy missions as well, because you can evade lasers and of course enemies with this. It is a very good ability, and per meter, I think it's per 1 meter, yes, you will gain your health back, which is very, very great. Your movement speed is increased a little bit, and your status effects that you have applied on yourself will clear 100%, and once you actually exit out of it, the enemies nearby will get stunned and be open to finishers. Defy is his third ability, which him and his twin become invulnerable, so they cannot get damaged. They twirl around, and then they absorb the damage taken and convert it into a max of 1500 armor, which is incredible on this Warframe. This has saved me many times, and this is an awesome ability of his combined with his second ability. And of course, your first ability is always going to be active because you do not consume any energy by activating it. His fourth ability is going to be Primal Fury, which summons his iconic Iron Staff, which does basically damage. It is a good ability, but I think this is the most lackluster of his abilities. But nonetheless, he is a great Warframe to have. You can play him in almost any mission, survival, defense. He's not going to be very useful in defense, but you can play him. You can play him in like 90% of the missions. Maybe defense, mobile defense, and interception. Well, even interception is going to be pretty useful. So 95% of the missions you can definitely play him. Then moving on to Gara. Gara is obtained by actually playing the bounties in Plains of Eidolon. She is a very good, well-rounded Warframe in my opinion. She's a damage dealer, and she can absorb damage as well. Now, Gara's passive is when she stands in the light. She will blind enemies in a radius of 12 meters, I think, and for 10 seconds, which is gonna expose them for melee finishers. Now, honestly, I never used this. I never got a chance to actually use this. But moving on to her abilities. Shattering Lash can be pressed or hold. If you press it, you're gonna fire sort of like a glass dagger, and if you hold it, you're gonna caress a massive whip, which is gonna cover around 200 degrees, something like that. By my rough calculations. His or hers, sorry, second ability is Splinter Storm, which allows her to actually gain what's it called? Not damage per minute, but gain a 90% damage reduction depending on your power strength, which is very, very incredible. And of course, duration is important here as well. Actually, I think it goes up to 70%, but I'm not quite sure. It really depends. And enemies that are covered by it, because you can put this on, for example, mobile defense targets. If you don't have I mean, you can put it mostly on anything, on enemies, on mobile defense targets, on mostly everything, which is very, very good if you're, for example, playing solo. And it does reduce damage, I think, by maximum 90%. I am pretty sure it does. So I'll keep that in mind. But it does say 70% on the wiki, and it does increase your damage multiplier by maximum 35 if it is placed on an enemy. Then I don't know how to pronounce it, but her third ability is Spectral Rage, I guess it's called. It summons mirrors in a designated area, and enemies inside of it will shoot themselves or shoot the mirrors, which will in turn explode and do damage to them. And Mass Vitrify, which is her fourth ability, is a very good ability. Now, it cannot be exactly used as Frost's snow globe, but it definitely can be used as such combined with damage. Now you summon a massive wall of glass which does a lot of damage. I think the max radius is around 11 meters or 15, I'm not quite sure, but I usually jump in the air. You might even see it in the gameplay. Just jump in the air, summon it, and then just quickly hold your one key on it to actually destroy it. And it is a very good damage dealing ability in a certain area. Gara is personally one of my favorite Warframes to play when I am not playing some other ones, but she is very, very good for new players as well, because you can deal damage and survive as long as you possibly can. Moving on to one of the more useful Warframes, we're going to move on to Nekros. Nekros is gained by killing the Leviathan on Deimos, and he is Elephantis, sorry, not the Leviathan. He is mostly used for one, maybe two of his abilities. Now, his passive is he regenerates 5 points of HP anytime an enemy dies within 10 meters, which is great. Now, his first ability is Soul Punch, which literally blows the soul out of an enemy, which is good but not very useful. Terrify, which scares enemies and makes them run and reduces their armor up to 20% if I'm correct. Desecrate is his main ability that you're gonna be using 90% of the time. This ability is used for enemies when they are killed to drop additional loot. Now for this ability you're gonna go for max range, almost max efficiency, and try to get as much loot as you possibly can. This Warframe is very useful in squads. And Shield of the Dead, which summons his, I think, last 5 or 6 enemies that he killed last, and then they will protect them, give you a shield, a health bonus, and a damage bonus as well. You can use I think it's called Shield of Shadows, the augment mod, which will increase, actually forgot what it does, but I'll leave it on the screen. It might say in the description of the mod. Nonetheless, this Warframe is used for his third ability, which is Desecrate, which is his main ability. I personally just use it for this, and I prefer you do it too. If you want a survivable Warframe, there's 3 on this list, so yeah. Nonetheless, Nekros is a great Warframe for farming. Moving on to Nova. Now Nova is gained by killing the rappers, raptors on Europa, which is pretty easy honestly to do. Then moving on to abilities, when she is knocked down, she emits a neutron burst, which actually damages enemies in a 6-meter radius, doing 250 blast damage. She is sort of maybe like a 3-trick pony. Her first ability is Null Star, which creates antimatter particles which seek nearby targets. Pretty useless ability in my opinion. Antimatter Drop, this is a good one because it launches a ball which you can shoot to increase its damage by a decent amount. And then you coordinate it sort of with your mouse, and then when it flies and hits a surface, it will explode into a maximum of 15 meters radius and do a lot of damage. Wormhole creates a wormhole allowing you to teleport. This is a great ability for doing fast missions. And her main ability, Molecular Prime, which will and can be used in 2 ways. You can use it for slowing down or speeding up enemies depending on what you're playing. Usually, when people play survival missions, they slow the enemies down. Usually. And when they play defense missions, they speed them up. This does make the enemies weaker. It does decrease, I think, their damage, or not their damage, but their health, and makes them vulnerable to damage, I think, by 2 times if I'm correct. But Nova is a Warframe that is 100% a guaranteed pickup for new players because she is incredible for her 4th ability. And moving on to number 1, I think everyone knew this was coming. It is going to be Rhino. Rhino is gained by killing Jackal on Venus, which is going to be your 2nd planet, I think, or your 3rd planet. He is an incredible Warframe. He can be used for his 2nd ability, which is Iron Skin, and Roar for buffing enemies. We'll be talking about those in a second. His passive is when he falls from I'm not sure which kind of height, but he has a hard landing sort of like ability, which will not stun enemies, but I think knock them down, which is pretty good. Not very useful, but he does have abilities to actually compensate for that. Now, Rhino Charge is his 1st ability. You virtually charge in one direction, and it's a pretty good ability. Not that very important. But Iron Skin. Iron Skin allows you to get to be virtually invulnerable. Now, this is very good because this armor can take, of course, a certain amount of damage before actually dispersing. This is also influenced by your armor and your power strength. And this is a pretty good ability. There's actually a way of using augment mods to increase this around. I think I saw people use 100,000 Rhino Iron Skin, which is incredible. And moving on to his 3rd ability, which is Roar, which can increase increases the damage to all nearby allies, which is very, very good. And this is a very good buffing ability against almost any hard enemy that you're having problems with, because it virtually doubles your damage of your rifles, which is great, or your weapons, sorry. And Rhino Stomp, now this ability is very good as well because it can be used for crowd controlling in some sort of a sense. Virtually Rhino stomps on the ground and then enemies fly up and stay in the air for a certain duration. This is a very good ability. They do take a little bit damage, but it's negligible. Now, the thing is, his 4th ability is very good at crowd controlling as well. But nonetheless, that is my list. Every single Warframe that as I mentioned, I would prefer you get if you possibly can. They are all great Warframes. If you guys have any other Warframes that are pretty easy to get for new players and you think are worth putting in this list and mentioning as well, put in the comment section below. That's why it's there, for commenting. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a like, a comment, and subscribe. This has been the Gaming Weasel, over and out. Peace.